Welcome everyone, Jeff with Half-Assed Gaming here. We're on to part 2 of the How to Edit SII Files, the little series I'm doing for folks that want to get into a little more modding, a little more understanding of how ATS files and ETS2 files work. So today I'd like to do something a little bit more complex. Not quite, super high level, but this is what we're going to do. Probably about a week before ATS came out, I had made all of the stock engines available for the Volvo 670, so the VNL 670. I had researched all those engines. They are the D11, D13, and D16 series engines available for the Volvo, as well as their Cummins offerings as well. They do offer Cummins engines in the 670 as well. We're only going to cover the Volvo engines. However, you'll see on my desktop over here, these are all of the engines that I've already created. What I'm going to do is show you how you take those engines and get them into the game. Okay? Now these are all previously edited, but I'm going to show you exactly what I did in order to get these working for the 670. So, for example, we're going to open the D16500V, which is this file here. We're going to bring that up. Let's zoom it a little bit for you. Okay, so here we go. You have your accessory engine data. So D16500V.Volvo_VNL.engine. I've named it D16 Series 500V. Price $20,000. That would be $20,000 in this case. Unlock is level 22. You need to be. In case you did want to unlock engines earlier, you just change this value here. Okay, so a little tidbit there. Info. These are all the researched numbers. Okay. Everything would be in quotes, so it shows it on that screen when you go to pick the engine. So there's 3 info lines. You have your horsepower in kilowatts, your foot-pound rating, all of these at symbols, so the at symbol, DG at, this right here has to do with the locale. So here in the United States, we use 1,850 or 1850, whereas some other places they would use a period or whatever the case may be. So this allows the game to understand that this is the, whatever your locale setting, that's the thing to put there, the period, the comma, whatever. Same with pound feet here, and Newton meters, RPM, kilowatt, horsepower, etc. So all that needs to have those at symbols. Specifically, the DG needs to be included in order to have the comma visible. Your icon is Engine 01. That is the only one available in the stock game. You can pull them from other mods and install them into the UI folder. I will show you that in a second. So your torque. The torque in the game is always the Newton meter rating. It is not the pound foot rating. So this torque value needs to be this value here. Okay, so it's just the straight number, 2508. Your engine brake rating, the higher this goes, the more force is implied with the engine brake. So if you put it down to 1, It will do less engine braking. If you put it up to 3, it will do more engine braking when you apply the jake. The RPM limit value. This is if you're creating a fleet motor and you don't want folks over revving it, which I do on all my engines now because it's silly for them to go to 3000 RPM because they actually don't. There you go. Volume 12.0. This is the default value on the default engines for the Kenworth and the Peterbilt that exist in the game right now. I have not found a significant volume difference going from 1 to 12. So I don't really know what this does at this point. So we'll skip that part. Now, important, very important, are these two lines. The default tag tells the game that when you pick this engine, it needs to point to this file to give it its interior and its exterior sound. If you do not do this, every time you pick the engine, your game will crash. And the reason that is because the truck itself already has custom sounds available. If it was a stock vehicle, so if it was the Peterbilt 579 or the Kenworth T680, these lines will not exist because they take the default sound no matter what you do. So you could just add all of this stuff without these two lines to the Peterbilt and Kenworth that come with the game. They are already pointed to the default sound for the game. Okay, I know that sounds, or it may be hard to understand, but we'll try to address that overall here in a little bit. Okay, so this is your engine, and I did however many that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 16. That's 18 engines, not counting the ISX ones. The default Volvo engines. All right. So you build all your engines. This is what they all should look like, obviously with different numbers here. All right. Now, I was telling you that it points to sound files. So sound files, you may remember if you have edited your jake brake, you may have seen things like this, all kinds of fun and happy things like so, okay? So a lot of things have changed in the ATS version of the game compared to ETS 2. I'll show you those things right now. Okay. So we always had our engine value and our engine load value, and just before we got to ATS, ETS 2 began using the no fuel. Okay, so that's when you are coasting, you do not have your foot on the gas, and you're not using the jake. So those are sounds that will happen as you're just rolling in gear. All right. Then there's the engine exhaust values. So those are new. That is a new thing here. That you can change the frequency of the exhaust. It's different than the load, which is up here. It's different than the load because this is also added on top. So engine load and engine do not have any exhaust sounds in them in the default trucks. So you have that. Then you have engine brake. You have multiple values, so you can make it feel like it's downshifting. Sounds a little bit weird to me. I don't mind just having one engine brake value, but here they are. You can put them all in there if you want. Turbo, air brake, air gear. So those things are all the same. Okay. So what I've done in this case is this is actually the default value for the Peterbilt and the Kenworth that are built in the game. And I'm going to show you that file right now so you can see what I changed, as long as I can find the file. Stand by a moment, please. All right, so interior, here we go. So this is the same file. You'll see all of the engine load, the engine, the no fuel, the exhaust, the brake. All of those things are the same. See here? I get 7 engine sounds, and then what's that? 6 engine load sounds. So there's 6 and then 7 and so on. So I've just copied and pasted that entire file. This one here, this Kenworth one, we'll say. I copied and pasted it right over here. But then here, you'll notice I changed something. d16.volvo_vnl.isound. But this one says int.kenworth.t680.sound. Now you're thinking to yourself, why are those two files different? Or the names are different, rather. Well, first of all, this is obviously different because we're not talking about a Kenworth T680. We're talking about a Volvo VNL. Okay? So the difference is this truck uses different sounds per engine. That is what the iSound moniker is used for. So you put the engine type and then the iSound at the end, and now you can have your multiple engines. There are other settings you need to change in order to do this as well, and I will show you those too. Okay, so this is how this needs to look if you don't want the default sounds always on all of your engines. So if you have separate engines, you want your Cummins to sound different from your Volvo and your Cat to sound different from your Detroit diesel, you need to use this type of naming in order for it to work. Okay, so this is all I've done. I've taken the default sounds. You can see them right here. So here it is. Sound truck default int loaded 3. Let's scroll down. Here it is. Sound truck default int loaded 3. So exactly the same. I made no adjustments other than the name of the truck at the very top and all of this mess. All right. Now you've made the default on the other side. We're going to open this again so I can show you. This is the engine we were just looking at. Your 500 horsepower D16. It points. Its default sound is this. Volvo_VNL/sound/interior. Okay. If we look here, look at that. Suitable for D16 500V. D16 500V Volvo VNL engine. Recognize that? So this is telling the game doubly now that, hey, ATS, this engine over here needs this sound, and this engine saying, hey, game, dude man, this needs this sound. See this? This is how we're going to make everything work. Right? So all of the suitable fors here are all of the engines that I've made. So I've made all of these engines. They all use this file, and they all need this suitable for. Otherwise, the game doesn't know what you're doing. Okay? So that's that. Now, let me show you the data. I'll just show you this real quick so you can have an idea. We're going to open let's open this. All right, so this is the VNL. So we are in, this is actually not where I want to be. So we are in, let's look at this file here. We are in def vehicle truck dealer Peterbilt in this case, because that's where this truck is, home is in ATS. We're going to open this Volvo VNL file. Okay, so here it is, T dealer Volvo VNL. You may have watched my other video about putting trucks in the proper slots when you bring them over from ETS2. This is what you need to do. Please check that other video out if you're unsure of what this is showing. At any rate, we're talking about sound here. Okay, so accessories sound I and accessories.sound E. You'll notice down here, accessories sound I and sound E. This is the default sound that the game has picked. The difference is, which I will show you now, if you go into the dealer files of the stock trucks, you'll notice a difference. Peterbilt _0 sound int sound ext. These two values right here mean that you cannot add additional sounds to this truck. Those sounds are locked. The default sounds in the game are locked to this truck. Doesn't matter what engine you pick. They're all going to have the same sound. Here it is, interior, exterior. So I'll show you another file. Same here, Kenworth. Right? Sound int, sound ext. So with the stock trucks, you don't get to change the sound to anything else unless you make a mod that changes all of these files to say sound I and sound E, and then you have to create all new sounds for all the, so that in itself is very time consuming. It's much easier to do on a truck that already has multiple engines, multiple sounds. I'm sure at some point somebody's going to create sounds for the trucks that exist in the game. At any rate, I needed to show you the reason why we're using sound I and sound E instead of sound X, sound int. Okay, so sound int, sound X. Stock trucks only use one sound for all engines available. You don't have to use any of the suitable fors, no defaults. They're already built in to the fact that it's using these values, right? So remember that. If you find a truck that has these values that is coming in from ATS2 or something like that, it has one sound file. That is it. Well, two, interior and exterior, but those are the only sounds available to you. You have to rewrite all of these files if you want to add more engines with different sounds, or if you want to change the sounds per engine that it has now. Okay? So, back to the task at hand. So here are your files. We've got all these things written. Like I told you, this is a direct copy and paste, except for the Volvo VNL up here and changing the I sound. And then the suitable for, making sure the suitable for are in there. If you miss an engine and you pick the engine in the list, it will crash the game. You need to check the log, verify that everything is okay. Okay, if you don't know how to check the log, you need to turn on the console and the developer tags in the config ini. There are plenty of guides on how to do that. Please look that up first. Otherwise, you'll never know what's wrong with your game. It's not going to show you the right errors, and it's not going to be in the console for you to look at. Okay, so we have these things completed. Now we're going to check our mod folder. I'm going to show you what I've done. So first we're going to go to the dealer. You'll notice that I've changed the sound accessories to sound I and sound E. I have made the defaults interior and exterior. And we'll go into the truck. So there's your exterior. Here's your interior. So like I said, created the sound data. Put all my suitable fors in here. And then I'm done. This is a straight up copy and paste from one of the default truck sound files. Just changing one thing up here, putting in my suitable fors, verifying the defaults in the dealer, making sure that the sound I and sound E, I've changed those, verifying my default engine, verifying my sound, interior, exterior. Okay, a lot of steps that need to be taken Very easy to get off track, forget what you're doing. As long as you have the developer and the console tag or flag checked in the config, you're going to be able to nail these down a lot quicker. Okay. So I want to check one more file, the data file. This is very important, especially if you want to change your default engine. Okay. Here it is right here. I'm using a D13405V. If I still have a Cat 13380 in there, and I've either taken it out, right? Either I've taken that engine out, or it's trying to use the sound from the other engine on this engine, or vice versa. You're just going to get a crash straight to the desktop as soon as you go to the dealership. All right. A lot of things need to happen in order to make seemingly a very small change to the game. All right. So it takes a lot of planning. You want to know what first you want to add the engines, make sure your sounds are correct, put them in the game, verify they work. Okay. Then if you want to change your default and you want to delete other engines, say because they don't actually belong in that truck, because I'm a realism guy, this is what you need to do. You need to really jump into all of these files, get an understanding of what they all do. This is where you make or break your mod right here, is having these fallbacks set, and it's a fallback to an engine you took out. Well, if it can't find that engine, it's just going to crash. You're never going to get to even play the game. It's not even going to tell you anything. The red flag's going to come up in the console and say, in the game log, and say, could not open data.sii could not open D13405V SII in read-only format, or cannot open Cat 13 SII in the read-only. Well, because I took it out, obviously it can't read it. It's not there anymore. But you haven't told the game that it's not there, you know what I mean? You have to change this to what you want it to be, and you have to verify that all of the things that are pointing to anything that you've deleted or changed are changed. So now, just so we get an idea of what we're talking about, we're going to go into the game now. So, mod manager. I'm going to show you that it's listed here. Here it is. Version 1.1 for ATS. This is all with my own edits in it. It's not actually the 1.1 because he put all kinds of cat motors and everything else that don't even exist in this truck. So we're going to go to the dealer. I believe this is in Peterbilt. We're going to buy it online. Here it is. Engine power 405 horsepower. I already know that I've built all these files correctly because it's showing this as the default. So if I go in here, customize, look at that. There's my fallback engine right there. The 405 horsepower D13. See if they're all available. These are the ISX motors. I didn't build these, but they are in there. I just left them. We got the 355, 365, 375. You'll know if something's not working as soon as you click on it like this. As soon as you click on it, you'll notice your mouse stop moving, and then the game will crash. You're going to check your game log. You're going to verify. Game log is basically everything in here. So, oh, here it is right here. Here's some red action right here. I changed something and I didn't So the 385 declares it a default. So this one I'm going to have to revisit. The 385 I didn't do correctly. So see, this is how you pick things out, right? So if I picked this and then I went out to drive, it would probably crash my game. All right, but I wouldn't know that unless I clicked on it. And now it says, oh, here it is. See, now this is multiple times, right? So everything else seems fine. The 405, yep, 405 is good. 425 is good. 435 is good. And so on. You just go through here, verify everything you're doing is good. And that's it. I'm not up to level 22, so I can't check, or 24 to check all the engines, but that's what you do. Now all of these engines that I've created are now built on this truck. They're going to use the default sounds that SCS has created because I copy and pasted the Peterbilt 579 and the Kenworth T680 sounds. I copied their interior and exterior values and made them a separate interior and exterior sound built for these motors. So you're going to get the SCS sounds as a stock truck on the Volvo 670. Now this is all in preparation on my part because I'm hoping and assuming due to the fact that they've shown a couple of pictures of the Volvo that they are working with Volvo in order to bring this truck into the game. So therefore, I've preemptively built these engines so I can put them into the real truck because, like I said before, they're not necessarily going to do all the engines because they only did 4 for a truck that has 13 of them offered or whatever it is. At any rate, that's it. That's the video for today. You know, you're probably going to have to watch it over a couple of times to get all the bits and pieces out. I tried to take my time. It is a time-consuming process. You're going to go in and out of the game about 40 times just to change one thing. But, you know, as you get better at it, as you make more mods, as you explore more files, you'll get there. And hopefully some of the things that I've taught you today maybe will help you in the future. So if you enjoyed the video today, if you're enjoying the series, please let me know. I appreciate all the feedback and the support. Next time, we'll catch you for part 3, how to edit SII files on Half-Fast Gaming.